So I woke up this morning after a good night's sleep. 6:30 a.m. early in the morning, that's how I roll, baby. And I thought to myself,
I should have bought that fucking monkey picture.
I mean, yeah, but that's not the only thing I thought.
I need to make a 90s R&B beat.
So that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna make a 90s R&B beat, but we're gonna do it the right way. But I'm gonna tell y'all more about that after the preview. So we're making a 90s R&B beat, but we gotta be specific about which era of 90s R&B we're actually paying tribute to. And for this video, we're going for that 92 to 94 era. Think of Silk, think of Jodeci, think of SWT, think of 112, that kind of stuff. Think a little bit of New Jack Swing, a little bit of Whitney Houston, Keith Sweat, all those people. And what we definitely can't forget in order to do it right is to pay tribute to two of the most defining instruments of that particular era. That is the Yamaha DX7 and the Roland TR808 drum machine, which has been defining black music ever since its inception. Of course, not just only black music, but still, we love that Roland 808. Big shout outs to the 909, but that 808, mwah, très magnifique. So here's the plan, beautiful people. We're gonna make a 90s R&B beat that harkens back to the era from 92 to 94 using the Yamaha DX7 and the Roland TR808. Only we're not, because I don't have access to that analog hardware. But what I do have is the DX7 in the V collection by Arturia, and I have the vintage drum kit, the vintage legacy drum kit in FL Studio, which is basically just the Roland TR808 kit. So I'm gonna be fine. Welcome back in FL Studio, and it's a beautiful day to make beats. It's an even better day to make 90s R&B beats. You can see that I'm rocking with a number of instances of the DX7 because I plan on doing everything with the DX7. That's gonna be our singular VST for this video. The key that I'm rocking with is the minor key. Of course, I prefer to write my chord progressions for R&B in minor. Major is fine too. You can do some amazing stuff in major, but we're rocking with minor. And I feel like just putting down my first chord, I think I'm going for a simple 1-5 chord progression. So I'm using the tonic, resolving to the dominant, going back to the tonic. It's kind of like a loop since those chords are basically P, B, and J. So just follow me and enjoy as I lay down the chords. Let me turn down the tempo a little bit because I want it to be slow and smooth. So let's go with 80. Let's really start working now. So the DX7 is an absolutely amazing synth. It's just that I really need to look a little bit harder to find the sounds that I really think will fit for R&B. So I think that a while back I stumbled across this patch, and let me just try it out. I hardened it even, so I have used it in another beat. So let's just okay, this one is perfect. And the thing about the DX7 is nowadays the sounds still hold up, but people think it has kind of a cheap sheen. But I like it. I really like it this way. It's bright. It is frequency modulation synthesis, so there's a lot to be said about that. But it's dope. So we're rocking with this sound, and I think I just want an additional layer. So I'm just gonna post it into the second one, and then I'm just look for another keyboard to supplement that with. One element that you definitely cannot overlook when it comes to 90s R&B is strings. Strings were a very, very prominent part of 90s R&B. So we're gonna open another instance of the X7. We're just gonna be looking for some cool strings, strings that aren't too apparent, but you know that add kind of a subtle layer, which is how I would usually use a pad. But I feel that a pad it works, but strings. We're gonna commit the strings for this video. Alright, bass. Can't sleep on the bass. This is the bass patch that I'm using. It's a very dope, cool, rich, deep bass, and I'm kind of thinking of playing like a cool, stuttery bass pattern that has its own melodic notes, kind of something like this. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about this instrument. They call it, this patch is called the amplified clavichord. In Dutch, we call the entire instrument the instrument which it stems from a clavicymbal, but in English you may know it as a harpsichord. Is that how you pronounce it? I've actually no idea. Now, this thing is living rent-free in my head because I know so many R&B songs, even post-90s, that use this. And I used it to play a little bit of a melody which sounds like this. And with that being said, I think we have the perfect sample to turn into an entire 90s R&B beat. So in terms of the sample, everything is covered, so that means we can easily transition into putting down the drums with the Roland TR808. It's just that I don't have an actual TR808, nor do I have a decent emulation, but what I do have is access to one of the legacy kits in FL Studio, which is a kit that you'll recognize because a lot of the perks we use in trap and R&B and other genres come from this specific kit. So we're going to packs, gives us a drop down box, we're going to hit the legacy folder, we're going to drums, we're going to vintage, and this kit I have a special relation with this kit because this is the kit that I think a lot of people use when we were first starting out back in 06, 04, 03 with making beats in FL Studio, and I'm just happy to see that in terms of perks it still holds up today because the Roland TR808 still holds up today. So that's a little bit of history. So there are a couple of sounds that I'm looking to use, mainly this one, this one, this one, no, not that one, maybe, yeah, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, that one, and that one, and maybe a lot more. So I'm gonna try and lay down a dope little early 90s R&B groove with those. Now, a 90s R&B beat isn't a 90s R&B beat without a couple of licks, without a couple of riffs, without a couple of grace notes here and there. So this is what we got right now. We're just gonna arrange it and stem it out, and I'm thinking of adding just a second progression in the bridge, cause y'all know that 90s R&B is not 90s R&B without a bridge as a switch up. Y'all feel me? So let me put y'all on a little game. If you feel like adding something new to your beat, you want to add a switch up, there's two things you can do, especially if you want to introduce a bridge. One is do a key switch, which is a relatively easy technique. All you need to do is find a chord that appears both in the key that you're playing in and the key you want to switch to, and you can use that kind of as a bridge chord to just get a seamless transition to the next key. Or you could just simply introduce another chord progression, because another chord progression might invoke a different mood, a mood that's different enough for the listener to go, hey, what's going on here? And that's exactly what I did, because I'm still in the key of C minor, but instead of rocking with that simple 1-5 chord progression, I am rocking with the 6-5-1-5 chord progression, which sounds like this in a pattern. Hold on, I got y'all. So what I did after that is, of course, I made sure that it was nice. I made sure that all the instruments were also supplementing this. So after having done all the arrangement, I get this. Oh man, this is beautiful. I can't wait to play all this. So y'all gonna hear this, and then you're gonna hear just how seamlessly it goes into the bridge. Y'all check this one out. What I tell y'all? What did I tell y'all? Now, here's the final thing that we need to account for when actually trying to make those 90s R&B beats. See, if I put Sketch Cassette 2 on the master, because one thing we need to remember is that when we do these tributes to 90s music, that we need to forget that a lot has happened in terms of the coloring of the sound. So we kind of need to downgrade it, not exactly downgrade it, but we need to make sure that we add the proper form of analog warmth to those beats to make it sound like 90s beat. Because if I remove this, then it sounds very clean, polished, in other words, digital. We don't want that. So I put Sketch Cassette. I took the slider a little bit up, and you can see in the top left just how much you're actually adjusting. So the age is set to 0.04, which I think is fine, because I don't want it to be too warm, because if that happens, then you lose a lot of high frequencies. So this is fine, and with that all in place, I think we have an amazing 90s R&B beat. So beautiful folks, with all that being said and done, I'ma leave y'all. I hope that y'all enjoyed this cook-up, and I definitely enjoyed making the beat. It's a nice tribute to the R&B that I may not have been able to experience consciously, because I was only a baby when this era came out. But listening back to it, seeing where we came from as producers in this beautiful genre, it's amazing, and it's even more amazing to be able to do it justice. So I'm gonna see y'all in the next video. Of course, if you like this video, let a brother know, and we'll be seeing each other soon. Y'all be easy. Peace.